Happy Wednesday. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everyone. That's why I'm being fancy and wearing the hat. I'm going to go ahead and just double check sound. It was weird yesterday. You get these fancy microphones and then all of a sudden they decide to not work on you. So let's just double check that we are live. Yep. And I'm hearing myself talking. So that's a confirmation that audio works. Hey. So today we are going to be talking about creating an online donor's journey with the one and the only Cameron Bartlett, and he is joining us in a bit. So I'm super excited for that conversation to really talk about what is a donor's journey, what does a successful one look like. But before we jump into that, we are live streaming today from Facebook, my Facebook group, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So across all the platforms. And if you're like, how is she doing this? I use a platform called StreamYard that lets me be able to stream simultaneously across multiple channels. So if you are producing a virtual event, I know we're shifting into the hybrid world, but if you're interested, totally down to share with you my StreamYard link. And I have a video that does a little demonstration on it. So I love it. It has these cool backgrounds you can put in and branding. So we can definitely talk about that. As we go through today's session, please make sure to drop your questions into the comments. I put these together for you for the reason of helping you learn a little nugget or two that could help you in your digital marketing journey as nonprofits. And so this time is for you. So drop a question and would love to be able to directly answer it. So today, to kind of get started, if you have seen anything that I've been talking about recently, you'll notice a lot of it's been around missions to movements, which is my Mastermind program. And in the nonprofit space, I feel like the term mastermind is not known as well. So if we really want to think about what is a mastermind, it's the coordination of knowledge and effort between two or more people who work towards a definite purpose in a spirit of harmony. So, and this is not a new concept. Y'all, Napoleon Hill was talking about this in 1925. He came out with his book, Think Big or Grow Rich. And so it's a term and something that's been used in the for-profit space for a long time. And the applications for the program close tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So I will put the link in the comments. But the reason that I started a mastermind is because I joined one. This is my group. This is us meeting up in Nashville earlier this year. Yes, I'm double vaccinated. Yes, we had to send in our cards and do COVID tests and all that fun stuff. But this is us. It's a collaborate group of, in my case, female entrepreneurs. And we have guest coaches that come in and talk to us every week about different business challenges that we might be having. We come together as peers and learn from one another. And what's amazing is that we've built relationships one-on-one, even outside of the group, that we're able to troubleshoot specific challenges. So for instance, there's other women in the group who have masterminds. So I'm able to go to them and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. Have you gone through this before? And I can learn directly from their learned experiences. And our guest coaches are sharing the behind the scenes of stuff they've already proven, they've already done. They're like, here, don't spend your time Googling endless searches. I'm going to tell you what's up. So in my case, and Cameron is one of the wonderful guest coaches for Missions to Movements talking about Donor's Journey, but there are 12 expert guest coaches. The program starts in May, AKA this month. The first session's on May 20th with Kirk Souter and goes all the way through to December. And you get to learn from these amazing people. So we have Elise from Children's Miracle Network Hospitals, everybody from Vic Harrison, Charity Water, Sarah Lee from News Story, Sabrina Hernandez talking about board of directors. Kirk, yes, is a leadership coach. Greg is actually the author of an incredible book that I have back here on my shelf, all about the Gen Z frequency and how Generation Z is as a consumer and how they're going to be as a donor. Super, super, super passionate group of people there to help you achieve your goals this year. So there are 22, I'll dive into what's included, 22 group coaching calls. 2 staff members on your team get to join. There's 2 one-on-one calls with me throughout the process. And I have office hours set up Monday through Friday. So this is customized to you to be able to make your goals happen in 2021. This program will not become available until next year in 2022. So I am a firm believer, because I have invested in a mastermind program for myself this year, to never underestimate the investment you make in yourself, right? If we become better in our mindset, in our knowledge of what we learn, then we can make an even greater impact in what we do. So I've had a lot of phone calls over the past few weeks about the mastermind. And so I wanted to address 5 quick questions. One that always comes up: Dana, I'm so nervous to make a big financial commitment. I hear you. I was too. I committed to a 12-month mastermind. Y'all, that was 5 figures. I was freaking out. I didn't know what this year was going to look like. COVID has thrown everybody for a loop, but all I knew was that I wanted to see change in my business. I wanted to see change, and I knew I couldn't do it by myself. I wanted to be challenged by a group of women, peers surrounded by, that were smarter than me, that have achieved more than me, so that I could look to them for knowledge and advice. I wanted the group coaches. So basically, if you want to see change, you have to invest in yourself to make it happen. So this program is set up for you to succeed. We have conversations halfway through to pull in the resources to make sure that you are set up for success and that you are accomplishing the goals that you set out at the beginning. Second big question that's come up: mastermind versus webinars. All right, big difference. Most webinars, they can't see you. You have hundreds of people in the webinar, and it's over in 60 to 90 minutes, maybe even shorter than that. And you might not even get a direct question answered. And if you're like me, you're multitasking and you have a bunch of other tabs open, or you're actually on the phone and you're not listening. And so maybe you caught a nugget or two from that presentation to integrate into your organization, maybe not. This mastermind is very intensive. It's a small group. I'm talking about less than 10 people that come together on these calls, open Q&A, and it's 6 months long. So it gives you time to learn, to put things into practice, to see if they work or not, to get feedback, and to try it again. So big difference between webinars. Number 4, is my organization too small to apply? So what's interesting about this is originally I had set up in my mind the types of organizations that I thought I wanted. But then after talking to a bunch of different leaders, I really enjoyed talking to everyone that's at all different areas in their organization's growth. And I always like to say Charity Water didn't start as the Charity Water that we know today. They had to take certain steps to get there. So fill out the application. Everyone who fills out the application has a 15-minute call with me. So we'll dive through any questions that you might have and see if it works. Then, how do I convince my board of directors to approve this investment? This is a big one. So we will outline in your first call very tactical, specific goals that you're looking to achieve by December. Numbers don't lie, right? If we can prove that you've increased your recurring giving by X, if we can land that big corporate sponsorship you want, if you're able to transform your website or your digital marketing or whatever it might be, or activate your board the way you want to, that means success, right? So we're here to make it happen. And then last but not least, I want to join, but I'm super spread thin right now. Is now the right time? I totally get it. We all have a ton on our plate. This is the reason why I create 2 spots per organization to join. So one of you can decide which call to join. And also, one of the main goals of the program is how to figure out how to put you in that leadership seat and take things off your plate, right? Boundaries is a big one. Nobody should be having, I just was talking to somebody who said they had 13 Zoom calls today. What? Why do you do that to yourself? You chose to accept all those phone calls. So we want to get into a place where you're not super spread thin, hopefully through this program. So with that, if you want to be supported by an intimate group of nonprofit peers and you want to celebrate those aha moments and challenges and be surrounded by Cameron and 11 other amazing nonprofit experts. Go ahead and scan this QR code. I'll also put the link in the comment section and apply for the program. Applications close tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific time, and I would love, love, love to have you in the program. All right, so with that, I just wanted to chat about it because I'm obviously really excited about it. I love my experience, and it's been a game changer in my life personally, so I want it to be the same for you. So without further ado, drum roll, please. I'm going to be bringing on Cameron. He is a digital marketer for nonprofits, so we clearly have something in common. He's helped hundreds of charities like yourself fundraise way more, yes, please, by creating journeys that guide donors from, I love this, their first interaction, all the way through becoming lifelong advocates that grow your cause for you. Yes, less you, more them. He's led award-winning digital marketing campaigns. Yes, he has, and they're beautiful, for some of the world's most influential nonprofits, thought leaders, and innovative businesses. My favorite is with IJM, International Justice Mission. I think he's going to share a little bit into the behind the scenes of that today. And you can often find him building community around a cup of coffee. He's my type of guy if he likes coffee, and talking about exciting new ideas. So with that, Cameron.
Hey, thanks, Dana. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Well, anyone who's interested in even like thinking about your mastermind should definitely do it. I'm excited to be a coach on it, but you've just put together a great set of coaches, and you leading it, you're the right person for it. So I really hope. I think this will help a lot of people. So I hope they do it. So.
I honestly just want to sit back and watch the magic happen. I just can't wait till the calls to happen. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, oh yeah, this is good.
Yeah, that's so great.
That's going to be the best. So I went ahead in the comments, everyone, I put a link to Cameron's website. He has some incredible resources for you to download there. And I'll also put the link for the mastermind. But so today we're going to talk about donor's journey. So really simply, when people hear donor's journey, like what does that mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, really simply, like what's the experience that people have with your organization online? This can definitely include traditional marketing as well. Like if they're getting stuff in the mail or you're interacting with people through phone calls, like those can definitely be a part of it. But so much of what you can control and study and like really test and iterate is through digital. So if they see social media posts you put out or a video or how they interact with your website and emails and ads and stuff like that, right? And what are the steps that when you sequence them in the right way, really lead them to that next stage, get them to be more involved, get them to share something you put out, get them to actually donate and from there as well. So yeah, that kind of stuff. And I think it's also really rooted too in just like regular old digital marketing, what you would do for a business or anything else. But what I found over the years is that a lot of businesses were using these great digital marketing strategies, and nonprofits who have their own secret weapons, with great storytelling and supporters who are just on fire for them. Like if they put that into the framework that a lot of these businesses are using to grow and make a bunch of money for things that people honestly don't really care about, could you imagine how we could use that in a scenario where people are just like on fire for your cause? And so that's a lot of what I've been able to do over the years and see that it works so well. So
I love that. And that's so true. Talking about kind of the e-commerce space, I always say, I sound like a broken record, but the only difference between the for-profit space and the nonprofit space is the tax code. The ability of bringing someone through either a customer's journey or a donor's journey essentially is very similar. What do you think are the key steps or really kind of like key milestone moments of bringing someone through a donor's journey?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's obviously the milestones of what you want to achieve. And then there are, what I've found too, is that there are a bunch of these little steps in between too. So the milestones being like actually getting someone to become aware of your organization. They've invested enough to like watch your, Netflix documentary, or they've, watched one of the, read through one of the campaigns that you put out or something like that. Right. And then they've opted in. There's like something like either something in between giving a donation, whatever that is for you. You know, they sign up for your email list, or they start visiting your website, and now you can retarget them. So they're like in your connected audience. And then there's that donation, like making that first donation, and then getting to become a recurring donor, someone who's going to keep giving every month, every year. And then there's this other stage I think is often neglected, but it's the ambassador, the advocate, the person who's going to go and just is on fire and is going to like share with everyone. They're going to be the ones to set up peer-to-peer campaigns and fundraise from others. And what's interesting though is that a lot of one, you don't want to just look at this one like straight across, like it's gonna look exactly the same for each person. Some people might skip these. Like in fact, a lot of times you'll see people who will become ambassadors and they've never given $1 to your organization. Like I've been this to a lot of nonprofits. I like started a peer-to-peer campaign. I like share all their stuff and I've like never myself given $1. And you don't want to lose those people. You want to really invest in like understand how to move them from that one step, even if that skips all the way to 5, and like allow them to like rest or allow them to be most productive in the space that they're supposed to be. So
I love that. And I think, so what have you seen as some of the most successful tactics for getting people into the first awareness stage?
Yeah. So I think this is definitely one of those places where it breaks down into several other micro steps. And, you know, I think as you look at it too, like your goal isn't always to get someone from like 0 to like recurring donor, you know what I mean? Or, you know, something, a lot of times it's just like getting them from 0 to like just one small micro step and moving everyone wherever they are just a little bit further down. So some of those steps, you know, are, which I also feel like you look at the beginning is often neglected, but a really great opportunity, as well as the end. So the beginning would be things like putting out a series of videos. So videos are great because you can retarget people who have watched a certain percentage of your video, or who have watched a certain amount of minutes of your videos and things like that through Facebook and YouTube and these other platforms. You don't have to get someone to go all the way to your website, opt into your email list, do any of that stuff to be able to show them something again and re-engage with them. But then of course it is like signing up for an email list. And I think that you really want to focus on what is a reason that people will sign up. They're not just going to sign up for your newsletter. You want to really give them a reason. So you can brand it well, like Charity Water. It's like add impact to your audience, to your inbox, and they're going to share stories with you about like what it looks like to actually drill a well. But then there's like some great reason to sign up for this list would be things like Cure International. They have a way that you can sign up to write a letter to a child who's in the hospital right now. Like, that's so cool because then you get updates on how their treatment's going. And so you start to get into this welcome series and like, it's a real reason you would want to sign up. So however you can make that like email opt-in something that is really valuable to them, a downloadable PDF about the kind of work you do and tips for how they can help it, stuff like that. Right. And then you really work on creating a sequenced welcome email series that complements those same kind of steps you want to get.
That's missed a lot too.
Absolutely.
It's like you sign up and then crickets.
Yeah, I mean, when we set up something like that for a nonprofit called Seedbed Publishing, so they make resources for like churches and things like that, and we created like an email series, ads, and all these things that kind of moved people along the journey. And in their first year, we doubled their sales. It was a 96% like a revenue. Like, so like, you know, they're a nonprofit, they're getting donors and selling products and all this stuff. But they doubled their revenue in a year, which is just so wild by just setting up that journey, those paths for people.
That's amazing. And I think some of the big notes from that are make sure your website is accessible to people and is clear on your mission and updated to be mobile responsive. I actually was just talking to an organization and I was looking at their Google Analytics and we realized there was like a 40% difference between the donations they were receiving on desktop versus mobile. And I was like, what's happening?
Really?
That's wild. We realized somehow in their mobile, it was jumping people to a separate page.
Oh yeah.
So there was a delay and I was like, we need to change this like right now.
Yeah, I bet that made a huge difference.
Yeah. And so I was like, it's finding those little nuances though that make a big difference. And to your point about email, which is brilliant, is let it be something that's a powerful exchange for someone to give you their email. But also a lot of times the ask for an email is also hidden, like at the very bottom. Join our newsletter. No, like you want that email to be top, because even though, and I'm sure you would agree, we both love the power of social media and the beautiful things that can happen from it, there's a much lower conversion rate with social versus email.
Yeah. It's wild. I mean, like I started in social, like that was what I did. But it was always also like, focused on other goals. Like we also need to do, generate revenue from this and get emails and do different things like that. Because it's so important to be building each of those different platforms out. But I think to your point on like your website and optimizing that, it also opens up a great point on you really want to analyze how many things you're asking people to do at one time. Like you think of that with with a social media post, you're not going to put like 5 links into your next Instagram post or a tweet or like something like that, right?
Totally.
But like that seems wild. Like, of course we're not going to do that. But in an email, like think of how many links you put into one email as opposed to just saying, here's the one thing we're going to put into this. And I found even like, some of the best formats for us to send an email wasn't like a big, beautiful, like design thing with a bunch of calls to action. It was just like plain text, button at the bottom or a link at the bottom or something, really simple. And I think the way that you create your pages and your website should be similar. Like every page, instead of thinking like, let's get the information on there and let's give them a way to get to every place they could possibly want to get to, treat each page like an individual high converting landing page. What's the one thing when they go to your homepage you want them to do? Probably donate, right? Like, so you top right of the page, middle center, like what's called above the fold, before anyone scrolls down at all, you should have a way for someone to donate. And as you go throughout, there shouldn't be 6 other links to all the other things. It should just be like maybe one other link that's like a or call to action. Like maybe that's where your email opt-in goes, is like halfway down the page or something. And then once you're on that page, like what's the next page they should go to? A lot of people go to maybe like the about page or something like that. And so what if you used your homepage to really describe, here's the problem we're addressing, like here's why there's a need, and then you drive people as they go to the bottom, like what do I do next? Like just make it really easy for them to get to the our solution page, and then from the our solution, like the where do we work or how you can get involved or whatever that looks like. Instead of giving them 5 different options, like make it like one step at a time.
Yeah, that's so good. I was leading a webinar yesterday, and as part of it, I did little mini website audits. And we were talking about corporate sponsorships. And so I was looking to see on their pages, if I was a corporate sponsor coming to your page, could I easily find your mission, relevant, recent, timely impact, and your corporate sponsorship information? And there's one site where it was like text everywhere. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I don't know which one's your mission statement from a news article to, I was like, there's lots going on here.
There's so much going on. Yeah.
Throwing too much out there. I was like, gotta make it simple, because we all have very short attention spans, especially if we're viewing something on mobile. We're so quick to jump to something else. So when we're talking about this, do you have a couple examples of what a good donor's journey experience is?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you mentioned, one of the campaigns that we did at IJM, it was called Super Marco. And I think it's a really great example. So like I have a course that I do, and whenever I speak, like I usually use this one as an example, because it's just really like, you can see when you can do it right, you can really make a huge impact. You can raise a lot. You can really bring in a lot of people who either never given before or they've given, but this is like just a way for them to really, really get involved and bring others in. So Super Marco was a campaign that we did that we were starting a completely new casework. So IJM is an organization, the largest anti-slavery organization. So they work to rescue people from like sex trafficking and labor slavery and things like that. And so the casework we're going to is dark. This one was called cyber sex trafficking, where children were being abused over the internet. Often it was their parents who were selling them. They were very young. It was just like I have young children. I have a daughter who's 4 years old, and honestly, I know that there were children younger than that who were being affected by this. And so it's just heartbreaking. Like we have to make a huge change here. We have to do something, but nobody even knows about this. So this is poses a huge challenge to even like educate people on this, to get them to actually giving. And so we started planning like a year out, creating content. It was things like, anything to do with cyber sex trafficking. We would write articles on our website about cases we were working on, or about the idea of it. We'd have a landing page just for cyber sex trafficking for you to learn more. And we put out social posts whenever there was a rescue. In fact, the rescues ended up being some of our most engaging posts. Like we continue to optimize those rescues, and throughout the year, we were able to increase organic reach by like 5 times, which was just really wild. So these pieces of content were great ways to engage people, really at any stage, whether they had never heard of us or they were a long-term donor. These were ways to get people to understand this specific casework that we were working on, cyber sex trafficking. But they were more than just pieces of content. Like these were steps along a digital journey. Anytime somebody would engage with a post or come to the website and read anything that had to do with cyber sex trafficking, we would add them to an audience that we would retarget them. So we knew they at least had some understanding of this. And then we created a series of videos. And the first one, was simple. It was, what is cyber sex trafficking? Like, what does this mean? Like, how do you stop it? And that became our most viewed video ever. Like 100,000 views on this video. It was more than we'd ever seen before. And then we told a girl named Cassie and her story and her experience with cyber sex trafficking. And we led everything leading up to this one video. It was actually a short film.
I just shared it in the comments.
Oh, you did? Yeah, it's heartbreaking. So
it is heartbreaking. So forewarning before you watch it, to make sure that you're in the right headspace to watch it. The interesting story about this is I didn't know that this was the campaign that Cameron worked on. I knew you worked with IJM, but I didn't know it was this specific video. I was at a conference in Vera. She was I don't know if her title is still the same. She's the creative director.
She was, when I was there. Okay.
Vera spoke and played the video live for us at this conference. And you could hear a pin drop after that video. And then she went into obviously more information about how it was put together, filmed, and the impact and the work behind what IJM does, and then led to a moment of ask to join and become Freedom Fighters?
Freedom Partners.
Freedom Partners. To join their recurring donation. And I think over 100 of us, I want to say more than half of the audience decided to give that day.
Wow. That's amazing, Tina. I didn't know that story. I knew that you'd seen it, but that's pretty wild.
That was the context of which I saw it. So it's really powerful.
Yeah. We kind of like knew that going in, Dana, that this video, if people could watch it, they would be bought in. Like they would be like, oh my gosh, I get it. Like, how can I see that and not go like fight this right now? But it was a big ask. Like, how do we get somebody to watch a 5-minute video about like very sensitive, dark content on, like we had to restrict the age of viewers, right? We had to even restrict certain countries couldn't see it. Like, it was like, I was like, this might flop. Like this might not even go anywhere. But it was the strategy behind it where we said, okay, anyone who's engaged with this so far, let's get them to watch Marco. So we ran ads. It was like anyone who had been to a page where cyber sex trafficking was in the title. Anyone who had engaged with certain posts, anyone who watched the first video, let's get them to watch the second video. If they watch the second video, let's get them to watch the third video. And then we brought together all of our like influencers, advocates. We had everyone from like Kathy Lee Gifford to like NFL players and actors and all this stuff. And everybody at once, we launched the Super Marco video. We started with a Facebook Live where we had over 50,000 people watching it with us. And we said, like, just go watch and share Super Marco's video. And that video got over 1 million views. It was crazy. And what was wild too is if you look at it, the majority of our of the video views, like at the beginning of the campaign, were organic. Like we obviously were running ads to retarget to get people to this, but because of like the action we were giving people, we were like igniting those advocates to say, hey, look, go watch and share. So many people brought in those new people. And then we could run really specific ads to anyone who watched Super Marco. We had separate ads for those to go give to this campaign. And so it was like no asks all the way through. It was just like educating, like moving people along, like getting them to know it. And then we really warmed them to the idea of this and said, like, with one big ask, really strategically, go now give to this campaign. And we raised over $4 million to end cyber sex trafficking.
That's amazing. So, and I think that
cool.
You said one key word was we warmed them up. And I think there's this instant gratification that we want in the space to say, hey, I'm just going to put out a random post. Love us, donate. But I don't know anything about you or what you do or what is that specific cause that you support or how has it, although you might say we've been around for 25 years. This is the first time I might be hearing about it.
Yeah.
So I love, and I talk about this all the time in running a strategic at least three-part donors journey series that all run simultaneously. And you just broke it down in terms of the retargeting. This is why it's so important. And I want to ask, what was the length of time in prep of education before launching the video?
Yeah, so longer than you need to do. But like we started probably in March, I would say, for an end of year campaign. And so like if you can do that, that's ideal, right? But if you can at least give a couple months, like that'll be significantly better than starting the day of, or something like, hey, here's our new campaign, like give to it. And also here's all the information about it, like getting them to know about why this is an important cause as early on as you can in the year is going to be better. And those are not fundraising months anyways, like January, February, March, like the first half of the year compared to like the last couple of months, like it is just like such a big difference that use that time to not ask and instead like really invest. That doesn't mean like don't make asks throughout the year, but I just mean like you could use that time to really invest in the education part of this and getting people who are ready to be those advocates who will spread that campaign for you when the time comes at the end of the year. And that made a big difference for us.
I love that. And it brings on new people. I think there's this mentality of we're kind of stuck with our current donor base. And that doesn't have to be true at all. You should always be working on expanding your cause and your mission to new audiences because our lived experiences are changing every single day.
Yeah.
So, and what we might relate to might be very different. So IJM, actually, I was more prone to being a supporter because I first started donating and supporting A21.
Yeah, I love A21.
And then I learned, because I heard Christine Kane speak at Hillsong, New York once, and I was fascinated by her. And then I learned about Thorn.
Yeah.
And did a hackathon with Ashton Kutcher in New York. And then I heard about IJM. So I've been in, that's a very like passionate space of mine that I choose to donate to is the human trafficking space. So you never know where a prior donor's experience has been or what they know. And honestly, until Vera showed up that day, I didn't know who IJM was.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. That's why I didn't know until like I applied for them. Like I had heard of actually like Not For Sale and A21 and like several others. And then it was like, it wasn't until I was like, oh, this is another like organization like A21 is how I was like picturing in my head that I even like applied for it. So yeah, it's, you're totally right. You don't know what people's experiences are when they might switch. Like I love that context, Dana. That's great.
Amazing. Well, this has been awesome. Does anyone, I will leave, if anybody has questions, please let us know for Cameron. And if they pop on here after the fact, maybe he'll be so gracious and come on and answer any questions in the comments that might pop up. Cameron, anything final to note from you? Anything that you want to kind of leave us with?
Yeah, I think like everyone's donor journey is going to look a little different. And, like you want to like the simplest place to start with this as you leave here is just to look at where your donors are coming from and how they're interacting with you. Any way that you can learn about what it takes for someone to actually click donate is going to help you better understand how to create that journey. You see a lot of people come in and they go to these pages and they interact with these things and they watch the video. Like maybe you can do some surveys if you just really don't have the data. Like you can ask those questions, like literally just sit and talk with donors. Like we did a lot of that to learn even like what kind of video was going to work like with Super Marco. But there's so much you can like study and understand, do some tests. Like if you've never done a Facebook ad before, like try it out and see if like one video works better than another video, or if it's like leading them to one landing page versus your donate page, or just do those small tests. Yeah, testing and learning and seeing what works better. So yeah, that's what I would say to start.
I love that. And that is, I mean, really saying, please believe if you are not already doing digital marketing in your organization, online marketing, digital marketing, it works. It's proven. It honestly is, I think, has some of the best ROI out there as far as in the marketing world. But Cameron, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, of course,
I appreciate you. I'm so excited for the Mastermind group to be able to work with you one-on-one. And really have some time in the group to dive through their donor's journey with you. And you can kind of like tweak it and see where there might be some gaps. And so yeah, with that, thank you so much. And hopefully, I don't know if you're having some tacos later for Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, probably that sounds like a good idea. I probably will. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course, I'll see you.
That was awesome. If you have questions about your donor's journey, I did put the link to his website. He has an amazing freebie download, and that's an example of a great exchange for an email address, is he's providing you with value. So to be thinking about that and how that works in your organization. And then lastly, make sure, again, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, applications close for missions to movements. I did put the website into the comments. If you have any questions, feel free to ping me. And with that, have an amazing Wednesday, y'all.